ladies and gentlemen, it's Harty and welcome to 21st Century TV. Today I'm joined by a remarkable young man who's probably done more in his life, achieved more than most people could even dream of. At the age of 8, he started writing his bucket list, or a set of goals and lists that he wanted to achieve when he was older. At 14, he started his very first business. At 17, he became an amazing rock star. At 19, he bought his first investment property, and then within 5 years became a multi-millionaire and has acquired hundreds of properties all around the world. Now, you know, he's probably ticked off the most extraordinary and biggest bucket list than probably any person alive. And when you hear about his achievements, I think you're going to be as impressed as what I am. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome Mr. Nik Halik.
Lou, what an intro. Totally, you're rocking.
How are you, Nick?
I'm doing good, and thank you for the invite. And back in beautiful Melbourne. So
beautiful Melbourne, perfect one day.
This is my home city. So
this is your home city.
I'm a Melburnian, so please don't hold it against me, huh? So.
No, totally. We love Melbourne, boys,
Definitely.
and it's good to have you back here.
Really
so
good.
You've done a lot of stuff.
And my life is still unfolding. It's unveiling on a daily basis kind of thing. So
I know, but like if we go through the things that you've done in the past, you know, you've travelled to nearly 100 countries, you've climbed the highest mountains, you've gone through stalagmites, stalactites,
the largest
caves,
crystal caves, having lunch on the Titanic, edge of space.
Edge of space. The Titanic.
Yeah,
so who goes down and has lunch on the Titanic? The
kind of cool, right? Definitely. But hold on, and also shot a vodka too. I mean,
yes.
You can't go down there without having a drink
without
of
vodka. The vodka, exactly. And this is probably your biggest accomplishment, is being trained and certified as a civilian astronaut. So
yeah, it's been my lifelong dream since I was about age 4, kind of thing. So, you know, astronauts graced my bedroom wall when I was growing up, kind of thing. So, to be training alongside NASA astronauts and Russian cosmonauts, it was like a boyhood dream come true. So it was good.
Well, because you've achieved so much, do you ever just stop and go, oh, wow,
Here's
I've
the
done
crazy
a lot?
thing. My biggest fear in life is complacency.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm the kind of person, I need a sense of purpose on a daily basis. Otherwise, like, I feel like I'm not fulfilling enough. Like, for me, I don't discriminate between a weekday or a weekend or a public holiday or whatever kind of thing.
Yeah.
Every day is exactly the same for me. So long as I'm always progressing, I'm constructive, I'm being productive, and I'm doing something incredibly unique at all times, because, you know, I love life. You know, I plan to be around for a very long time. But I want to make every day count.
Yeah, that's a good point. And, you know, some people, they probably just roll out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
What makes you actually spring out of bed and want
it's
to
like
attack
anything,
the day?
like, you know, define your why. I mean, I wrote down my top 10 hit list of goals, right? Which in effect sort of became my screenplay to my life. So I kind of like predicted my life, and I've been the actor, the producer, and the director all at the exact same time. And these same goals have now consumed over 32 years of my life. Yeah. You know, and you know, when you live long enough, when you believe long enough, and you really, you know, absorb it on a cellular basis kind of thing, you basically, you don't subscribe to impossibilities. You don't subscribe to a no. I mean, a no is a temporary yes, because I'll always get in my way. And I'm very, very, you know, I'm very, very stubborn. You know, but I persevere. I cut every sign of retreat, and you just make it work. At the end of the day, you just do whatever it takes, and you make it work.
Yeah, so you talk a lot about, in your book, which we'll get to in a minute, about your childhood and how you believe that you were the boy in the plastic bubble. So explain about that and what effect, you know, being like that had on you. I was the
pharmaceutical poster boy, because, I mean, I had chronic allergies, debilitating asthma, and, you know, like, you're a parent too, so you got to understand, like, you know, parents can become somewhat paranoid about the children.
Yes.
You know, I'm the youngest of 4 kids, and I got really sick, like, you know, even at 14 days old kind of thing. And I never really had academia as such, like an ordinary child kind of thing. But I sort of grew up on a very unorthodox way. I sort of grew up on the Encyclopedia Britannica. Yeah. And also the Adventures of Tintin.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. I mean, and that's, I mean, you know, and I go through life as an adult, and there's been like so many deja vu moments of Tintin in my life, you know, from like slipping a pyramid to like being in a submersible or going to space or climbing a mountain kind of thing, but also the intellectual side and the historical synopsis of understanding history of the Britannica kind of thing. So I'm kind of like the amalgamation of the fusion of both entities, I guess, kind of thing. Yeah. But for me, one of my formative goals was to escape the confines of my bedroom wall, because there was basically an outside world that existed outside my bedroom walls.
So how long were you actually like confined?
Well, I joined academia just, you know, near my 10th birthday kind of thing, and by then I was like, in you know,
So it was really like your bubble where
yeah,
you thought of the things you wanted to do outside of those walls.
Exactly, you know, and the crazy thing was, you know, I sensed a life of being like an ordinary child, you know, because I used to basically view kids walking out from school from my bedroom window. They'll be on the BMX bikes, the skateboards, kind of thing, and it's like any other kid. You want to be just like them. You want to hang out.
Yeah.
You know, you want to go out there like, you know, meet girls and just hang out, kind of thing. But my longing to be ordinary, the adverse effect was once I was like, basically, you know, I joined the real world. My thinking was more extraordinary kind of thing.
So that could have had a bigger impact on your mindset at that age.
Absolutely, and that was my paradigm
You
shift.
could have gone from one side or just gone, I'll never amount to anything, I'll always have to.
Absolutely.
But you've taken the opposite path to what most people...
But that longing, but there was a secret kindling which basically set the imagination on fire kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, once I was unleashed, then... And the crazy thing was those goals, inadvertently, they became my screenplay. In other words, that was my paradigm shift. And that's when I really defined my why. You know, we all talk about why, about, you know, having a sense of purpose, like what drives you, what puts a smile on your face, what's going to get you out of bed.
Yeah.
You know, my why was that screenplay, and I am so incredibly grateful to that screenplay. And, you know, most people, when they confront hurdles and obstacles in life, they're intimidated. But I love obstacles, I love hurdles, because it's always going to bring the best out of me every time, because it makes you think. And most adults, we've lost that faculty of thinking, you know, but the longing to think and be creative, but also like, you know, working on yourself. Like the #1 brand is us. We're the #1 brand in the world, you know, and if we don't have our own goals, we're working towards somebody else's goals.
Yeah, because a lot of people, when you sort of, like particularly with 21st Century, and a lot of our clients or members will ring up and they want some sort of guidance or direction, and most people think like a starburst. They want to do this, and they want to do it all at once.
Yeah.
Right. So when you listed your goals, did you have a set format of when they were going to roll out?
Well, I wrote the top 10. I mean, I always knew that I wanted to make a lot of money, and not from a materialistic basis, but more I wanted to like financially liberate my parents, because they were hard-working immigrant parents.
Yeah.
It's like any child, you want to do the right thing by your folks, right?
Yeah.
So my real motivation about money was to liberate them. And you know, Mum was working in a sweatshop top operation, working at Toyota. My dad was a truck driver who spent 3 weeks on the road, you know, paving new roads, the expansion of the Victorian economy kind of thing, you know. So I didn't really see my parents growing up, I guess, you know. But that was my formative thing about, you know, getting my head straight and just really developing a business sense. But I was always musically inclined. It runs in our DNA, I guess. But I've always wanted to like perform live, be a rock star, move to Hollywood, because all my musical mentors were based in Los Angeles. And not far from where I live right now, actually, funny enough.
So, you know, music, everybody... The human race actually stops for music, believe it or not.
I love music.
Because it brings out your happy in you. So
it's sex on stage. But the feeling of entertaining as opposed to being entertained, and you know that vibe when you're on stage kind of thing. And it's like, you know, when you're on stage, like you're emotionally and you're financially inspired. You know, building somebody's emotional muscle and their financial muscle. It's amazing just to share that love and pass that passion around, those positive ions.
And you probably would have got a lot of your inspiration from your own music, right?
Definitely.
Because that's what it does.
I'm a songwriter. I mean, I got signed up by a record label as a songwriter kind of thing. So for me, it's always to me, and it's something I want to pass on. And you know, and I love to produce acts too. You know, I'm very creative. I've always come from that space kind of thing. You know. And always being a solution provider, whether it's coming up with a new hook to a song or a verse or a middle ladder or a chorus kind of thing, or like melody, to provide inspiration to a vocalist, you know. It's just, I've just embraced that all my life.
So let's move on to when you decided to become an astronaut. Now I know as children, like my son's 6, when little boys grow up, they want to become an astronaut,
or a fireman, or this.
And you actually went off and did that. So the odds of what, 13 million, I think you said, to 1 or something like that.
Crazy odds. But you know, it was in the late 1990s. I got fed up with the music industry.
Yes.
It consumed my life, and you know, I mean, when you confront the reality of things and you're really honest with yourself, you start to like, you know, undergo a different paradigm of life. But I lost myself. I literally lost myself. I lost my mojo, I lost my drive kind of thing. And I literally did my last gig and, you know, walked into the green room and basically said to the guys, this is my last gig, I can't go on anymore. Because I felt like I've sold myself to the devil kind of thing, you know. And I just needed an entirely new outlook. So I left the music industry and I went backpacking for a number of years, and that got boring because nobody could hang out with me because everyone had a job, right? and that was the reality.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, I literally went from playing in front of thousands at a gig, and then I was in the Sahara Desert in Western Sub-Sahara in Morocco, camping out with Bedouins, with a Tuareg tribe, because I wanted to be stripped back to basics. And that was the reality of it. And that's pretty much how I just, I wanted to like come back to terms to what really, what really I want to like, do for the next 10, 15, 20 years of my life. And then, I went back to my original goals again, because I still have a number that hadn't been ticked off. Mm-hmm. And then basically the full-time quest of pursuing those goals became part and parcel every day of my life.
So let's talk about your training.
Yeah.
Not only did you have to learn to speak Russian, right?
Quite an experience just there.
Yeah.
But the funny thing was, I was living on a Russian military base, an ex-Soviet base that not even NATO during the Cold War knew of its existence, right? There were tanks outside, barbed wires, there were troops outside, and I was a civilian Aussie living on a military base. Totally Spartan quad. I mean, you could probably relate to some of this, right? With the whole discipline required and what have you. Yeah. But let me tell you, the savagery of the Russian winters, I mean, I'm talking about like, below minus 30. It's like, but let me tell you, the first 4 months, I just hated, I just despised it. Luckily, I had a very good internet connection. But I warmed up to living on a military base, that type of life, I guess.
Yeah. And that structure, routine, up
early.
early.
Definitely. And
tell you exactly what they need to do every point.
Because living on a military base, the lodging was very Spartan type, Even the food with the very slim pickings. So, but I had a private driver that I will send him to Moscow and come back with like caviar, Greek feta, just spice up my diet somewhat.
Yeah.
And just bring back some delights, But it was a crazy time.
So you had to learn Russian. You also had to learn how to master how to fly a
Russian. All the simulations. Basically, I would wake up every morning.
It's like an alien spacecraft, learning to do that, right?
I could have learned how to fly, rocket an alien spacecraft would have been the exact same thing. But I would wake up every morning about 6 a.m., go to the gym, work out. 7:30, hit the classes. 8 o'clock, I would spend about half an hour on a vestibular chair, which is basically on a chair and being spun around repeatedly until I would vomit every morning. And basically it was to build endurance.
Okay.
And then the way I trained my body was, I could be spun around for like 15, 20 minutes. And at first I would pretty much puke in the first 2 minutes or 3 minutes, 4 minutes. And then you build up your endurance kind of thing. Then doing ballistic re-entries in a centrifuge. We're talking about like a 10G ballistic re-entry, which is kind of like imagine like a boa constrictor coiling itself around you and contracting, and you're forced to breathe. But it's pretty much just learning how to breathe. In the case of an orbital re-entry back to Earth, and you're traveling at about 5,000 miles an hour, out of control, coming into the... It's kind of, but
it's like it's so far out there.
It is,
right?
from the band, rocking out on stage to like camping out with the Tuaregs, in Bedouins, and then going straight to this in Russia. But on the weekends, I would go out there and like catch up with Jamie at Jamie's Events Worldwide too. Yeah, that was the crazy thing about it too. So like at weekends, I'd be like I'd be still speaking on stages kind of thing, and during the week I'd be just going for this grueling exercise. I mean, you can't get more opposite than that, right?
Oh yeah, totally. So like, what's your definition of a challenge? Because like you've achieved so much, and people go, well, like at what point do you go? Yeah, I'm definitely going for that.
Yeah, the crazy thing is...
What is bigger than this?
How do you surpass the previous one every time? Here's the thing, it's hard to top off what you've previously done in the past, but I think what you've got to do is, look, I do my due diligence irrespective, I mean, when I jumped off Everest and did a halo jump on my birthday, people thought that was kind of crazy. Mind you, convincing a pilot to allow me to jump out of a perfectly sound plane, that required quite a bit of... cash flow negotiation.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I calculate risk. It's like when I invest. I mean, I want to know what the return on investment is up front. When I invest, I want to know what my 100% risk profile is. Totally. So I bring my investment mindset into my crazy pursuits of adventure kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that's me. I mean, I couldn't see myself doing anything else. I mean, but isn't it most important in life to live life in your own terms?
Yeah, totally. And what I do love about you is that you don't just travel the world, you actually absorb and bite a massive chunk out of life.
Definitely,
every single day.
All the parents listening to, when your kids turn 16 and 17, don't rush into university or college. Allow them to travel, allow them to find themselves.
Yeah.
Because we don't get that pause. Sometimes we don't ventilate our mindset or like aerate our soul, and then to realise what we really want to do in life, kind of thing. So
yeah, because you do discuss that later in your book, and
Yeah.
which we'll talk about that in a minute. So who was your mentor or an idol that you had as a child? Who did
yeah,
you?
well, originally it was Tintin, this animated cartoon hero.
Yes, totally.
If you only existed,
Everybody
Tintin, call me. Yeah, the Britannica. But in 1917, when I first landed in Hollywood, Los Angeles, Bob Proctor took me on. And he became my mentor, and he's funny, he calls me his godson, I call him my godfather, kind of thing, and we do events together these days. It's great, so...
yeah, he speaks really highly of you in your book.
Yeah,
and let's speak about your book. This is an amazing book. For those people who haven't read it, it's called The Thrillionaire. Make your life an epic and extraordinary adventure. And I must admit, one, you impressed me with your writing because you're quite a remarkable writer. But what I did like about it, even in the first few pages of reading it, which I've read it a couple of times, my husband has actually read it quite a few times.
Awesome.
And he actually tells me more about Nik as well, which is good because he's a fond admirer and friend of yours.
Yeah, husband's a great guy.
But the thing is, what I do love is that you actually put people straight into your experience immediately, which sometimes it takes a writer a long time to actually do that. But within the first couple of pages, I was in there with you.
It's very engaging kind of thing.
It is very.
Because you want. I mean, with each adventure, it's kind of like it's a culmination of the way thinking throughout life kind of thing, and it's like I am the result of every decision I made in my life, whether it's going on adventures or investing kind of thing. And I want to share the readers, in what I do. And sometimes it's really hard to take them to the same zone, the climatic experience kind of thing.
Because this is mainly about your self-discovery and exploring your
And,
identity.
I'm still discovering who I am,
Yeah.
And I'm crazy enough to work on the most crazy ideas. I mean, if there was a way of being abducted by aliens, let me tell you right now, that would be something that I would totally endorse.
Yeah. Well, we should do an interview just on that subject because that's a bit of an eye opener too.
Absolutely,
Heated
definitely.
discussion. I'll actually probably get Royce to do that interview with you. So speaking of books, you say that this is one of your, apart from this, is Encyclopedia.
Yeah, I pretty much
Britannica.
digested every page of this.
And a lot of people can relate to that because we remember the door salesman coming and...
I recall the same doorsman.
He
was slick. He was really good.
No, he got everybody in Melbourne for sure.
But this was amazing. It's like, and these days they've got on CD-ROM or I don't think nothing's really going to replace that beautiful volume of just, when you smell the encyclopedia kind of thing. And I think it was for me, the gateway to knowledge was unleashed when this came into my life.
In your room.
And I had plenty of time to read. And I also destroyed my eyes very early on in the piece. Just reading and reading and reading. I was just a book nerd,
Yeah.
And I love reading books. I mean, I love interviewing people. I love just talking to people who are transmitting a high frequency of wisdom at all times.
You've got a number of successful companies, and the one I want to just talk about today is Financial Freedom Institute. So how did that come about?
That came about back in the early 2000s. Would have been 2001, and I pretty much set it as a kind of like a refuge for investors, who needed more support in different areas, whether it's property, stock market, or business, or whatever kind of thing, and then expanded on me creating my education based on my personal experiences with investing, what have you. And then it just basically morphed into something greater and greater kind of thing. And we're talking about over 12 years ago now kind of thing. But and that's pretty much how I met Jamie too, because we're both in the same industry, and we respected each other's work and our body of work, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how the story unfolded, I guess.
Yeah, so Financial Freedom Institute and 21st Century, like as you said, have been friends and business associates for a long time. And, you know, many of our clients have, you know, experienced and done a lot of your programs, not just trading, but
Absolutely.
also internet marketing.
Yeah.
You've got a whole plethora, a whole suite
Definitely.
of different products that we offer to our guys. So both you and Jamie have a unique relationship, and because you've been together for such a long time,
We
you know,
became
he's
really
a
good
little
mates
less
too.
adventurous.
Oh no, he does
Actually,
well.
I did see him climb a sheer rock face,
Yeah,
or
in Antarctica.
ice face in Antarctica, which I was pretty impressed about.
Yeah.
But you know, one thing I do admire about both of you is you're both unbelievable visionaries.
Yeah, definitely.
And you both seem
And
to have the same desire to empower people through emotional and financial intelligence.
Absolutely, totally. You know.
Yeah.
And also, we both love to travel too. You know what I mean? I think that's a big part of maturity, because when you become an investor, you don't want to be like a local, nomically minded type investor. Be a global investor, and you really and you only understand being a global investor when you travel the world and you see how different economies work. And Jamie's also got a great grasp on that matter.
Yeah, totally, because he's right all about having that lifestyle design.
Absolutely,
So,
definitely.
You know, you can make money.
And we all love to travel, that's the thing.
Yeah,
We all love
exactly.
to travel. But most individuals, they're tied up to a cubicle, you know,
Yeah.
or the main topic of discussion takes place at the water station at work kind of thing. Well, how about being a cyberist and being a mobile investor? I mean, the days of the tablet, the iPad, the iPhone, we could be
totally.
anywhere worldwide. I mean,
Yeah.
there are like mobility is incredible, and that's the most important thing. And I look at every strategy that I incorporate in my life. Can I do it from a mobility perspective? And the answer is yes. And I think it's really important to impress upon anybody listening now. Be a mobile investor, be in control of your investments, and the ability to travel, and also with your loved ones too, and also inspire others, and also philanthropy along the way too.
Yeah, because you want people to actually follow you.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're leading by example. Like I'm a big advocate of leading by example.
Yeah.
So, and people usually will. So let's talk about ShareLord and
Yep.
ShareLord Advanced. This has been around for a long time. It seems to be the most popular amongst our
Yes.
members in particular. What do you think that so many people are attracted to this particular strategy, which is options trading?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? I mean, when you look at options, the banner of options, there's the speculative side, which is the trading of the options, and there's also the other side, which is the creating of the options, which is more conservative, but has a greater degree of probability and certainty, right? And I sort of think where a lot of clients, a lot of individuals in the past have always been attracted to the speculation. That is, they're jumping in the market with the hope of generating 30 or 40 or 100 or 150% overnight returns. But it's a double-edged sword, because when you're chasing speculation, and here's my logic too, if your premise is based on the words hope and wish, in other words, you're hoping for a return outside of your control, then effectively you are speculating. So with ShareLord, it's pretty much this. It's on the exact opposite, because 95% of individuals speculate in the stock market. It's the 5% who create the stock market. And that's what ShareLord's all about. Just similar to like a landlord buying property and renting out that property, and the tenant paying the landlord rent. We can do the exact same thing on the stock market. So by renting out our shares, in other words, selling the options to our shares, the option trader pays us an option premium. And we can actually do this on a monthly basis. In fact, we can also do it on a weekly basis too. And the returns have been great. In fact, our recommendation diary, just with ShareLord alone, from May of last year to February right now, we're over 30% ROI for the year, for the
great.
9 months, which means we are poised to be over 40% return on investment from May of last year to May of this year.
That's fantastic. And like you mentioned the trading diary. So
Yeah.
like, you know, we have people that are novices, never traded before,
Absolutely.
seniors, young guys.
Yeah.
There seems to be more of a trend actually with young people coming in and
It is,
trading.
definitely.
I think having your diary there and the fact that people can go online and see that stuff, you actually are helping them step by step rather
Yeah.
than going, here's a trade, take it,
Yeah.
see how you go.
The way we'll provide all the formula, the proprietary formula, teach you the entire criteria, give you like a cash flow formula for the rest of your life as far as that's concerned. But on top of that, you can look over our shoulder and basically the diary. And the way we've done a diary, for example, when you understand the strategy, we create contracts and we basically monitor each contract up until expiry. And if there's a change in the contract or the value of the share price, we alert you right along the way too. And it's phenomenal. Clients are loving it. And like I said, we should be able to achieve a 40% return on investment.
Fantastic. So it doesn't take very long. Each month you do it. How long does it take?
What we do is this: we keep it nice and simple. You place a transaction, a trade, and you simply monitor it. That's all you do. And we say about 3 to 5 minutes per day, about 30 to 60 minutes on a monthly basis. And when you think about it, if you don't have 3 to 5 minutes, well, find one. Find the time. The average Australian drinks about 2 cups of coffee. Each time duration, about 6 minutes per cup of coffee. Okay? I mean, you know, it's like anything in life. You know, you change the circumstances, you adapt to the changes, and you need to eventually you need to you know, become a more sophisticated and savvy investor and harness that there are better ways to do things in life, you know, and, you know, start to change the parameters, you know, and that's what Jamie espouses too. It's like, you know, just really work on your foundation, your psychology, you know, remove all the viruses, you know, start, you know, uploading, you know, the right emotional intelligence, the financial intelligence, then erect the different income streams, you know. I mean, if you look at the greatest structures and architectures in the world, I mean, they've all got pillars, you know. These are your income streams, because one income stream, imagine, you know, the Parthenon with just one pillar. You know, it just doesn't work that way, you know. And that's all about. And Shellord's a great cash flow foundation. You know, it's got liquidity.
So, like, when you went from Sharelord, and then what did you find that there was a need for the current Sharelord clients? They wanted more, so you created Sharelord Advanced?
So we created the Sharelord Advanced Education, because the Sharelord Advanced Education, we take it up a step now, because with Sharelord, you need to buy the physical underlying stock. Now with Sharelord Advanced, you don't have to own the stock. In other words, with a little bit more analysis and a bit more savviness, we teach you how to create contracts on shares you do not even own, and also how to create insurance policies, and basically take on some amazing premiums. And what we also do right now, we're about to launch our Sharelord Advanced recommendation diary, which we basically provide recommendations on a weekly basis too, with credit spreads, you know, writing insurance policies, and doing some really cool strategies there with the advanced stuff too, which is pretty exciting.
So you've come pretty much full circle with that. Like, you must be really proud of
it is. I
what
mean,
you've achieved.
you know, we've got a lot of clients in over 31 countries right around the world. I'm also, you know, I teach this strategy exclusively for Robert Kiyosaki's clients. As we know, Robert, you know, wrote a little book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. 29 million copies sold. I think a royalty check of about $2.45 per copy.
Wow.
Not a bad return. But so I teach his clients exclusively on this particular strategy too, and you know, I teach on the biggest stages around the world too, and obviously it's the number one stock market education for 21st century.
Yeah, totally. Because like a lot of our members, as I said, you know, it's our most popular trading strategy, and it will obviously continue to do so.
But it's a good logical start. You know what I mean? You know, to build that foundation, then you can embellish upon that and raise the ante. But start with something that's conservative, without the speculative nature.
And like I said, it does align with 21st century's philosophy of building that foundation, because Jamie teaches in his home study just the basics of options on the Aussie market, and then yours is the next extension to that. So,
Jamie has been responsible for, like, you know, really bringing this actual education to the masses. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Even from the late 1990s, before I even came onto the scene. You know, so we're grateful to Jamie for that.
So apparently you've got a little secret or something that
definitely something that's been in the work for some time, and I'll give you a bit of a background. There's a big brokerage company around the world. They have offices in about 35 different countries, and they've basically selected us to create an education for their clients. And basically, this education is it's taken a small slice of a $4 trillion market, as you will know. And very proud to announce that we're about to launch Cash Flow FX, which is an amazing Forex education. And basically
FX.
Yeah, it's what it's called, Cash Flow FX. And it's taken the same logical foundation, but applying it to the other Forex market, and taking it to the next level, and applying with different strategies too. And we've chucked it down, really simplified it. And I believe it's a great market to get into too. If you understand the cycle of money too, because with Forex, it's a little bit more aggressive, but the returns are, I mean, you know, astronomical too. So long as you mitigate risk at all times too. So we're proud to announce the imminent launch of the Cash Flow FX education.
And like we are super excited because we get to launch this pre-launch to our members only first. So keep an eye out for that.
21st Century will have the exclusivity on the launch too. So
I know our team are really excited. I know Patrick's excited. Anita's excited. So we're all pretty happy about the inclusion of this, because it'll just make it much easier because we have that relationship with you, our clients
Absolutely,
have that relationship with you, so it's just a natural path because you do find that some people want more technical analysis and they want a trade chart.
And it's a natural transition too,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly.
And we understand it kind of thing. And like at all times, we listen to our clients. We listen to feedback. I mean, I love to grow too. And nothing is. I mean, we always want to I believe in the evolution of a product.
Yes.
And you also want to grow with a client's maturity when it comes to investing and the sophistication of harnessing different strategies too. And I think cash flow effects and shareholder advance and Sherlock, it's a wonderful catalogue of work and a great foundation to understanding the cash flow savviness of the markets. And the financial markets is, people don't understand, it's the financial markets that drive the economy, the greater economy and also the property cycles.
Exactly.
So if you understand this, by default, you become an amazing property investor.
Well, already you find that a lot of our clients, they love trading and they love property.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely, definitely.
And now, look, because we're also involved in US property. So before,
and it's been a great winner for the clients too.
Exactly.
Who've listened to 21st Century.
If you've got people trading, we also tell them right now that you want to check the currency exchange before you actually make the purchase.
Absolutely.
Because it can make a massive difference.
Yeah. When you go overseas, when you're shopping your credit card or travel checks, I mean, you basically have exposure to FX kind of thing.
Exactly.
And now's a time where, as opposed to being raped and pillaged by the big companies when you change your money and exchange your money, it's payback time,
Yeah, totally. You're going to be educated, so you can make a better choice, and that's all people want to do, So that's really exciting stuff. So let's talk about. I actually want to get into your head.
Yep.
That's your head. There.
That's my head over
here. That's mine there, the coloured one. My brain's bigger.
Okay,
actually.
cool.
So let's talk about belief systems, right, and having that psychology and how important it is, because a lot of people that are trading, right, they'll come in with the cowboy mentality, show me the money. They might have one or two successful trades, and then suddenly something goes off in their brain.
They develop this false sense of invincibility. They develop this like a Kevlar vest. You know what I mean? Like hey, I can move a locomotive. Yay! Can you see my cape? That's the biggest problem. And when I say to individuals too, don't approach it as a trader. Approach it as an investor. Invest for cash flow. Don't be a trader and be the one who's harboring speculation kind of thing. But I would always say when it comes to investing, specifically in the financial markets, it's called robotic emotional detachment. And just work on a balance of equilibrium and just equalize your emotions kind of thing. Because sometimes those euphoric highs. And it's only on those euphoric highs that you start to get really cocky and you start to get, you start to become a lot more fearless and you start taking a lot more risks kind of thing. And the market will always bring you back to square one again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally.
And I've said every time. But, the primal instinct of human emotion, greed, fear, and indecision is basically what motivates and shapes humanity and society in general kind of thing. But I always say to people, if you're simply going to chase some money, the returns will always be rotten. The reason being is work on your foundation, because your foundation is this. It's your psychology. Imagine the soil, right? Fertilize the soil, aerate the soil, water it and what have you, and the fruits will ripen a lot quicker and you'll be able to expedite the process to cash flow generation for the rest of your life.
So do you follow Warren Buffett's tips, where one of his is, make money, don't invest to make money, but invest to acquire
Absolutely,
more
definitely.
assets.
I mean, he's got some very sound fundamental principles, And by the way, some of the principles of Sherlock, he actually espouses and actually utilises for himself too, as does Robert Kiyosaki and what have you. So when we look at a stock, we look at from a very fundamental perspective too. I mean, for example, does the CEO have a 10% earning? Does he have a 10% share ownership in an actual stock? We look at a stock. I mean, we look at does it have fundamental rankings, technical rankings? We do a diagnostic report. The board, is it a profitable stock? And of 3,200 stocks, there's probably about 150 that may meet our criteria. So and what Buffett does, and he's a phenomenal investor.
So when we're talking about having belief systems, because everything that you've created as a child to now has obviously been influenced by your parents, your upbringing, the fact that you're in your room for such a long time, making your list. But at what point did you ever get to the point where something went bad in your life, and how do you remain true to your self-belief without going, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you are still human.
Absolutely, definitely.
Did that hurt? So you are. You're not robotic.
And look, I've injured my body many, many times. But I think the biggest thing is I allow life to question me. And you have to still look yourself in the mirror and still respect yourself, kind of thing. So for me, so long as I'm always honest with myself, and so long as I'm challenging myself, but I always look. I make dissatisfaction work for me, and I think that's a really important distinction.
Yeah.
Because if you're comfortable, you're really being comfortable being uncomfortable, kind of thing. So for me, it's like, you're either progressing or by law you're regressing, kind of thing. So for me, I want productivity. I don't want to be busy. Too many people are busy, being busy.
Yeah.
I want to be productive, And how do you value productivity? Well, obviously, as you generate more money, more conquest, more challenges, but also, you're in a far more harmonious time in your life, so to speak, kind of thing.
And I think you've got to be really content with where you're at.
Yeah.
Right? And acceptance.
Appreciate it too, definitely. But you can only really appreciate yourself when you travel and you see others in a different light.
Yeah.
That's why traveling really matures the soul.
I think, like for me, spending so much time in the military and being so aware of how short life is.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
That is one of the reasons that drives me to always do as much as I possibly can within a day. And, when people say, oh, look, I'm a mum, I'm busy, I work, and, I just say, freaking get over it.
And
you know what I mean? Because you really have to go through it. But it comes back to the way you think and feel.
Yeah, so true.
About your current situation.
I've got to share something with you right now, based on time management. You just said something. June of last year, I did a bit of an experiment, right? I put up a website with my expiry date. Kind of weird, right? But just bear with me here, right? The way I see it, right? The way life is depicted to us, right? We're all sold these life expectancy rates. Guys, you live until 76. Women, 82, right? They're the expectancy rates in Australia, right? So I'm thinking, like, why allow the system to dominate you? Why allow the system to basically orchestrate your life and tell you, this is when you should retire? You work 40 years, you work 8 hours a day. I mean, we were fed the same crap, right?
Right.
So I'm all about defying, my motto is this: number one, there are no rules. Number two, don't forget rule number one, okay?
Yeah.
So what I did was, I put my expiry date, and I have a countdown clock. And it has how many milliseconds, seconds, minutes, hours, days left. As of yesterday, I had just under 32,000 days to run on my life. Now here's the crazy thing, right? You're probably thinking, well, how did you work out your date? That's a long story, and we don't have time to talk about that. But I have 32,000 days to run on my life. And the thing is, by looking at that, I look at that every day when I first get out of bed. And you know what? When you see a countdown and it's going in reverse, you're thinking, shit. I mean, my productivity levels has skyrocketed. Now, I didn't really expect this at the time, but it's skyrocketed. And it's amazing now. I mean, I go around the world with some of my own events too, and I have my clients doing the exact same thing. Now they've got countdowns on their own life, and I look at it every day, and I'm getting some amazing feedback about productivity-wise.
Yeah. Because
you're living each day as if it's your last day, as opposed to taking life for granted.
Yeah.
And how many people, like, without a why, they've got no direction in life. They're like out in Bass Strait, and the ship's got no rudder, and they're just churning water going round and round in circles.
Totally. It's like we did a Caribbean trip with 21st Century a couple of years ago. Fantastic, great trip. We've done many great trips. That's for another interview.
Thank you, Jamie. We need another one, Jamie.
And to go back to the analogy of, like, it's like, I would say to my husband, okay, come on, we got to pack, we got to go. You book the holiday 4 weeks in advance, and everybody leaves it for the last minute to pack the bag because they've got that timer or that ticker. So
absolutely,
yours is probably the same. I actually don't want to work out my ticker, my timer, because I think I head it on full blast at the moment. But yeah, so that's crazy. But you're a crazy guy. That's what we love about you. Now, speaking of someone else who has a really strong belief in achieving the pinnacle, because everybody's pinnacle of what they want to achieve is different. Like, from the illiterate homeless man who suddenly learns to read and write, for you who wanted to go into space, or for someone like Sir Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, that was Sir Richard Branson. Arnold Schwarzenegger. So you're going to be joining us at the Financial Educational Summit.
Yes, in
June. Arnie's Mr. Universe, Mr. Olympia a number of times. Hollywood actor, great.
And that's what makes him very unique and very great. Like, I mean, he's so diverse, from the athlete to the being involved as the action hero of the 80s and the 1990s, to like being a politician, to being. But a lot of people don't understand that he was actually an investor. Like he was actually he had net worth of $1 million back in the 70s before he graced our stages back in the Hollywood days, kind of thing. But he's very diverse, and he's got a great message. I mean, he's very congruent with his message too, and I think he's going to be a great addition to. I guess with 21st century's events.
Yeah, and because he is from so many different industries, you attract a lot of different people that either want to have dinner with him or want to.
He's not
one
dimensional. There's a lot of facets.
Exactly.
He represents a mosaic of different experiences
and all age groups. Like we watched Pumping Iron the other day.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that for that was when he was 21, and roid head from hell, but unbelievable what he achieved.
But it was also the dedication too. Like,
exactly.
There was even accounts like when a gymnasium was closed in Austria, he would break into the gym just to work out. It was that determination.
Yeah.
But think about the determination. What if you applied it to your investing?
Yeah.
How about cutting every side of a tree and simply giving yourself permission to succeed every time? Not playing the blame game and being accountable for yourself, as a parent, whether it's a relationship or, just in general kind of thing. So it's going to be some phenomenal principles from the event.
Yeah, and you two will have a lot in common because you had to learn Russian, he had to learn English when he got here. So, there's a lot of similarities between the two. So I believe, have you ever met him before?
No, but it's actually, in the same week, I'm actually speaking on the same stage with him in Los Angeles. Yeah.
You better not miss our gig.
No, come on now.
So that's fantastic. So what we'll do is we've got a couple of questions that people have emailed in. One of them is, what advice would you give anyone who wants to make it?
Right, make it in?
Make it.
Yeah.
In whatever chosen field, whether it's fitness. Well, let's talk about fitness, for example, because, people go, oh, Nick's not fit. You would have to be fit to have been chosen for that space program.
Absolutely, definitely. And, they work...
You're talking elite.
Yeah. I mean, the medical probing or what my body had to endure on a long-term basis was incredible. I mean, people don't realise, even like being an astronaut too. I mean, some of the other astronauts who spent about 6 months or about a year in orbit. I mean, their chances of leukemia and cancers are greatly increased because of the solar radiation too. People don't realise, because when you stop using your muscles, when you come back to Earth, you have to learn how to walk again and be rehabilitated. So, I mean, you've got to train your body how to withstand all the forces of gravity and what have you. And there's so much involved kind of thing. But it's like anything. I mean, fitness, whether it's your body, shaping your mind, your mindset, in the way and also how you relate to the outside world. There's so much that comes into it.
Mm. So what has been your greatest experience to date? Out of everything that you've done, what would you have to say has been your best?
You know what? Probably the greatest, I would say it's what's around the corner that I'm still anticipating. You know what I mean?
Exciting.
And I have a very good idea what it's going to be, but I won't disclose too much about it. But I'm all about surprises too. But I think fatherhood at a later period of my life obviously would be like a very strong pinnacle when it comes to the legacy of your life.
Yeah, yeah.
But when I reflect back on previous adventures, I don't want to talk about them too much, because then I don't want to get too complacent either.
Yeah, totally.
Because no adventure is always the greatest one, because the one that's about to come, the one that's about to,
one's around the corner.
Metamorphosis.
Yeah. So you said that you've got 32,000 days till your ticker's up.
Yeah.
Right. Is there anything that you want to achieve before that?
Yeah. Probably a lot of it would just be, be remembered generations down, and being a part of the Encyclopedia Britannica, being featured in it.
Yeah. You do the PDF downloadable version.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, it's been a pleasure
Awesome.
as usual.
Wonderful.
Thanks for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at the Financial Education Summit in June.
Yes.
So if you want more information, guys, you can visit 21st Century TV. I'm Lou Harty. Thanks for joining us, and goodbye for now.